Hi, it's Grandma Karen. You have thread on your bobbin. Now let's thread your machine. Today we are talking about the Bernina 930. Before we begin, let's talk safety. If I work near the needle, I do one of the following. I move my foot pedal away from my foot, or I unplug the foot control, or I turn off my machine. Your presser foot needs to be in the up position before you begin threading the top of the machine. You have seen this stitch note before. The presser foot must be in the up position when threading the top of the machine to ensure the thread goes into the tension discs. We will do a little experiment with this at the end of the lesson to help you understand. We talked about cross-wound thread and stack thread in our last lesson. Review lesson 7 if you've forgotten what the two types of thread and spool pins are. Your machine only has a vertical spool pin. I will put my stack thread here. If I have a cross-wound thread, you can try to use it here, or you might need to use a thread stand. From the spool, the thread will go through this thread guide on the back of your machine. You may have to stand up to do this thread guide. Hold the thread between both of your hands, go underneath and just pull up and it should pop in there. Then put the thread through this groove right here, down here, and this is where it passes through the tension discs. Here's a close-up of threading the top of the machine. The pink arrow is pointing to the tension disc inside the machine. Notice how the thread is coming off the back of the spool. The thread goes over the front of the machine and then down to this thread guide, which is called the thread regulator. Now it comes back up, and as it's coming up, it's catching in a spring that's inside that regulator. Then it's going to go over the top, all the way to the back, pull it over the top, and it should catch into the take-up lever. Now it's going to go back down to a thread guide on the needle bar. Here's a close-up with the thread drawn on with a marker. The thread goes down, then up, then down. Here's a close-up of the take-up lever. Remember the take-up lever? We learned about it in lesson 5. The take-up lever needs to be in its highest or its up position when we thread the top of the machine. Your machine puts the take-up lever at its highest position when you stop stitching or when you turn it off. If it is not in its up position, turn the hand wheel towards you until it is in its highest position. Now look at the thread guide on the needle bar. The thread slides in from the left side where the green arrow is pointing. You will need scissors to cut the thread before threading the needle. There are many types of scissors. The scissors in the left photo are fabric cutting scissors. Notice that all of these have a piece of yarn tied to the handle. You should not cut thread or paper or do crafts with fabric scissors. Everyone at my house knows not to use these. Cutting paper or thread with fabric scissors makes them dull and they will not cut fabric anymore. They are expensive, so don't use them to cut thread. The middle photo shows small embroidery and school scissors. If they are sharp, they work well to cut thread. The right photo has standard scissors in it, great for cutting paper and doing crafts. Some of them will also be good for cutting threads. The left photo shows cutting the thread on the diagonal. The right photo is of the needle. I wet my finger with my mouth. You could do this in the sink if that seems too gross for you. Then you wet the back of the eye of the needle. The spit or water on the back of the needle helps draw the thread into the needle. Hold the thread with your thumb and index finger. Have about 1/2 inch of thread sticking out. Not too much or the thread droops down. Push the thread through the eye of the needle. Sometimes it's easier to see the eye if the presser foot is on. It gives a silver or white background behind the eye. As the thread goes into the eye, continue to push your thumb and finger to the back of the needle and grab hold of the thread. Pull about 4 to 6 inches of thread out. The thread should not be wrapped around the needle, like the photo on the left. This happens sometimes. Pull the thread down a little and let it go back into the correct position so it is coming straight off the needle, like the photo on the right. The thread tail should be coming from the back of the eye of the needle. There are other ways to thread the needle, and we will talk about them in our next lesson. I'm using my hand wheel to put the needle down so it is easier to thread the needle on the needle bar. Remember to turn the top of the hand wheel towards you. Hold your thread between your two hands like this. Put the thread over the top of the guide with the tail on the left side. And then you just pull it and there it goes into the thread guide. Oh. Now let me show you how to thread the needle. I'm going to put the presser foot down now because we are past the tension disc, so the foot can go down. Then I'm going to cut this thread on the diagonal like that. I wet the back of the eye of the needle with my wet finger. I held the thread between my thumb and my index finger with about a ½ inch of thread extending in front of my fingers. I braced my hand against the machine so my hand is steady. I push it into the eye of the needle, and as it goes into the eye, sometimes it takes a couple times, and then I take my thumb and my finger and I go back behind the needle and grab a hold of it. Then I can pull it with my other hand. So I can show you on this giant needle a little bit easier than showing you on the machine. I took my thread, and this is a bigger thread, so hopefully you can see this, and I've wet the back of my needle, cut this on the diagonal, I put it in there, and then I let my fingers go around to the back and grab a hold of it and pull it at least a little bit so that I can let go and then pull it with my other hand. And that's how you thread the needle. Let's do an experiment with the tension. Put the presser foot up, pull the top thread towards you. See how easily it pulls? Now put the presser foot down. When I pull on this thread, it is tight. This is because the tension discs are closed. This keeps a nice even tightness on the top thread. When the foot is up, the thread can go between the tension discs. If the foot is down when we thread the tension area, the thread will sit on top of the discs instead of going between them. You would have terrible stitches if this happened. Putting thread on the bobbin is called winding the bobbin. Putting the bobbin in the machine is called threading the bobbin. The bobbin goes into the bobbin case. There are two kinds of bobbin cases. Some machines have what we call a drop-in bobbin. Your machine has what I call a removable bobbin case like this. Your bobbin will have to be threaded into the bobbin case. In other words, the thread needs to follow a certain pathway to work correctly. The bobbin case also has a tension on it. It is controlled by a little screw. If your bobbin case is in the machine, you will have to take it out. Open the bobbin case cover, lift this little latch right here, grab a hold of it and pull the bobbin case straight out. As you hold the latch open, it prevents the bobbin from falling out. Let go of the latch and let the bobbin fall into your hand. Do not rip the thread out of the bobbin case. There's a spring on the bobbin case, right there, that helps keep the tension or tightness correct for good stitches. You're going to cut that thread, or you're going to very gently and slowly pull that out of the bobbin case. Lay the bobbin on the table or on the palm of your hand. Flip the bobbin over until it's forming a Q. Q is for quality stitches. Hold the bobbin case with the whole side up or facing you. Put the bobbin into the bobbin case. The bobbin should still form a Q with the bobbin and the thread. Turn the bobbin so the side is facing towards you. Find the little slit in the side. The pink arrow is pointing to the slit on this bobbin case. In the photo, you can see that I have pulled the tail of the thread into this little slit. Notice that my thumb is holding the bobbin so it does not spin. This makes it easier to thread the bobbin case. The left photo shows the thread has been pulled up until it stops. The red dashed line shows the thread under the metal spring. The right photo shows that the thread is pulled to the right until it's coming out of the hole. Leave a 4 to 6 inch tail of thread coming out of the bobbin case. Put the bobbin case into the machine. Hold the bobbin case by the open latch. Put the bobbin onto the hook area. See the post that is in the machine? The green arrow points to it. The center hole in the bobbin goes onto this post. The bobbin case has a little finger on it. The finger is pointing up. The blue arrow points to it. The latch is pointing to the left side. Place the bobbin case in your hand with the hole facing up. Drop the bobbin into the bobbin case, making sure that the thread and the bobbin are forming a Q. Turn the bobbin case to the side and find the little slit that's right there. Slide this thread into the slit and pull up till it gets up to the top there, and then pull it to the side so that it goes into that hole right there. You should not yank on this like that. You need to just gently pull it in. Remember, that's the spring, and this spring is the tension, and we don't want to pull on that too much. Hold the bobbin case by the open latch. Point the finger on the bobbin case up. Then you're going to put it in here. Find this little post that's in here, and you're going to put the center of that bobbin hole into that. And you're going to make sure that the finger on the bobbin case is pointing up, and you're going to just push in until you hear that click. If your machine doesn't make that clicking sound for some reason, jiggle that bobbin case back and forth to make sure it's in there tight, or even use the hand wheel and have it rock back and forth. Make sure that it's in there tight. If it's not in there tight, the bobbin case will fall out when you start to sew. Use the manual that came with your machine for photos of how to thread it if you've forgotten. Now it's time to do your homework. Show your mentor that you can do the following. Properly thread the top of the machine, going through all the guides and the tension. Properly thread the bobbin case. Thread the needle. 1. Place thread on the correct spool pin. 2. Does the presser foot need to be up or down for threading the top of the machine? A dull needle, a machine full of lint, and a machine needing oil can cause bad stitches. Next time we will learn a little bit about sewing machine needles. We will take out the old needle and replace it with a new needle. All sewing machines need to be cleaned of lint and dust. We will learn to clean and oil your machine. See you next time. And here's a note for the mentor. For our next lesson, you will need the following: a soft brush to clean the machine, sewing machine oil, sewing machine needles, universal size 80-12 are good. Thread, cotton covered polyester or all-purpose thread or 50-weight cotton thread is best. You may have the supplies already, but if you don't, you can buy them at the fabric store or online. Thank you for helping someone learn to sew.